Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to talk a little bit about my strength standards that I set for novices. And yeah, I know I've covered this before. I seem to have to cover this about every 4 or 5 months. And it's because oftentimes these things come up when I discuss unrealistic standards versus realistic standards and things on the internet. People bring this topic up, it gets spread all over forums, and oftentimes my standards get forgotten and they get misportrayed in various places. I've seen people come to my channel and have whole discussions about what my strength standards are, and the standards that they're all listing and debating are not standards that I have ever personally set. And there's a lot of misconceptions about what I have said and done on the internet, so people go read those things and they come and they just assume that it's true. So let me clarify what my novice strength standards are. And this doesn't apply to just my program, this applies to any well-written, proven, foundational strength program. Any program that should build your strength and size base up appropriately for a novice. You should be able to hit these numbers on any of them if you meet the criteria. Now, the criteria I want to set, and this is important, is going to be age, obviously males. But age, you're going to want to be 18 up to about your early 30s. If you're older or younger than that, your gains are going to be a little slower statistically, just as a demographic. It doesn't mean always, because there are people who are absolute freaks in both age categories. But those are the outliers. At least average height, so at least 5'6" or taller. If you're shorter than this, your strength is going to be a little lower. People want specifics. I can't give you specifics. I don't have a large enough pool. I've not trained very many people. I've not met very many men in my life, being an American, who train, who are under that height to be able to get you any sort of demographic. I have to go up on the mainstream population. But if you're shorter, it's going to be a little lower. And you're going to need to be healthy. That's the other big kicker, and I'm going to get to that in a minute, of if you fail to hit these standards, you might want to go get a physical and some blood work done. But healthy, if you've just come back from being anorexic, or you have some autoimmune disorder, or you've recovered from cancer, guys, that's not healthy. You're not going to realistically reach those standards. This assumes you're in good health. But those standards are going to be, and this is not just for a max, it's going to be for at least a few reps. In a perfect world, you would be able to do these for the 5x5s, but I don't honestly always expect that from someone who's just the average Joe. On the bench press, it's going to be 2 plates per side. For Americans, that's 225. For people in the rest of the world, that's 100 kilos. You should be able to do that for a few reps at the end of 1 year on any good program. On the squat, it's going to be 3 plates per side. That's going to be 315 for Americans. In pounds and in kilos, it's going to be like 140. And on the deadlift, 4 plates per side, which is 180 kilos for those who use kilos, and around 405 in America using American plates. So that's the standards that I believe people should be able to hit off of this on average. And this is based upon my experience, my observations, that the majority, not even all, the majority of people who follow the program perfectly, who fall into the criteria that I listed, those 3 categories, will generally be able to hit this. The majority, there will be exceptions. But that is 2 plates per side on the bench press, 3 plates per side on the squat, 4 plates per side on the deadlift. And a lot of people say, well, if those are so high, then how come there aren't people who have 1,500 totals in every single gym? Well, because going from 1,000 total to a 1,500 total could be, I don't know, 7 or 8 years of work and maybe some drugs in between the two. That's why. There's a tremendous difference. Once you hit around that 1,000 total or so, or a 950, 1,000 total, your gains taper off dramatically. And for some people, even getting to, say, a 1,200 total from a 1,000 pound total on the big 3 can take a very, very long time. It can take years. But that initial number is relatively, I'm not going to say easy to hit, it can be hit with consistent hard training on a proper program. Now, if you don't hit those numbers, does that mean you're a bad person, or you're lazy, or you're a failure? No. It might mean that, but it doesn't automatically mean that. Now, for example, if you didn't hit those numbers and you changed, say, my program, which is well written, it's well done, has a proper balance of things in there, but if you ran my program properly and you fell way short, but you changed the program, well, you might be very foolish because you didn't run the program properly, and that's why you didn't reach it. You might have worked really hard. You might have just said, I'm never going to deload. I'm not going to do any of the weight resets. I'm just going to push through, and then you don't reach the numbers. Well, you trained hard, so you're not lazy. You trained harder than the program expects you to train, but you were very foolish because you didn't follow it properly and you ended up being smaller and weaker than you could have been. So it's not always necessarily a call of morality or laziness. It's just a question of maybe you didn't follow the programs correctly, or maybe you didn't eat correctly, maybe you didn't get enough sleep. All these factors need to be in place for these things to happen. As long as you do any of these properly written programs consistently, those are reasonable goals. Now, if you think you fit into all those criteria, you did everything right, and you still fell quite a bit short of those numbers in that time frame, it might be time for you to consider that, well, maybe something else stopped me from doing it. Maybe I'm actually sick. And I would recommend that could be a sign that something isn't functioning correctly in your body. There could be some sort of issue with inflammation and stress hormones in your body. You could have some sort of undiagnosed autoimmune condition. There could be something wrong in your body that is impeding your recovery and adaptation to training. And so if you fail to hit those numbers and you fail to reach those goals and you think everything was in place for you to have done it, my standards aren't unrealistic. It means that maybe you should go get something checked out. That could be a warning sign that something isn't quite right in your body. Maybe you should go see a doctor and double check just to be sure. Because these things do happen, and physical illness and even undiagnosed physical illness can absolutely impact your results, and it's better that you go find out for sure in that case. Consider it a warning sign. So no, it's not a judgment call, and these standards are not unrealistic, and the majority of people who've run programs like mine and similar programs, who've actually followed them through to conclusion and seen other people do it, realize that these sort of standards are not unrealistic, but they're also not indicative of future gains. Alright guys, but I just wanted to clarify that yet again because a lot of people asked. So I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time. But let me give you guys a bicep shot before I go. Oh, Mount Bicep.